Yo, what's cracking, folks? In this video, I'm going to be chatting about your job etiquette, particularly on your first day on the job. So you've gotten the quote accepted, now you've set up the job, and you have arrived, hopefully on time. A lot of times when you're showing up to a job and it's your first time working for the client, there's some general information you need to gather so that the rest of your job's going to go smoothly. So one of the things that I'll use painting as an example because that's what I'm the most familiar with because that's my profession. One of the things that we find out first is where we can put our supplies. So a lot of times you want to set up like a little work zone. So if we're doing like the master bedroom, sometimes there's enough room inside the master bedroom to put our supplies, but sometimes we'll use a second bedroom or a part of the hallway, set up some drop cloths, set up our workstation where we're going to pour paint and have our all of that stuff. And sometimes it's out in a garage, wherever it may be. So that's kind of step one, because you're going to start bringing things into the house and you want to be as centralized as you can so that your workflow goes smoothly throughout the job. So another couple things you want to find out, and this sounds really basic, but what bathroom is okay to use. So it's part of the deal. So you got to find out a good restroom to use. A lot of times it's their powder room downstairs. It might be their guest bathroom. Sometimes you can use the bathroom that you're working in if you happen to be, working in one of the bathrooms. It's just a nice detail to have. And then if we're on bigger job sites, on commercial job sites, a lot of times there's a porta potty outside. So it's just kind of good to get some of the general things figured out before you start. Another thing that we like to find out is where we can wash our brushes out. So because we do primarily painting, we want to know where we can wash things out, and it's not always available. So some people's houses don't have rec sinks, or they don't have laundry sinks that they want you using to wash out whatever your materials are. So for us, we a lot of times just wrap our brushes in saran wrap and take them home and kind of do more of the kind of cleaning and stuff in our own residences rather than potentially messing up the client's sink. So we've seen a lot of other contractors. You can really mess up somebody's sink, particularly their kitchen sink. That's it might be steel. It's something you want to avoid, because a lot of times if you're using different contracting materials, you can scratch their stuff, particularly if you're washing things out in their nice kitchen sink, which is also a bummer. We have done that, and I learned how to recondition steel. Okay, another general rule for job etiquette is to be clean. As a painter, we are constantly paranoid if we're tracking anything anywhere. A lot of times what we do is run a path of drop cloths from the entry point of the house, whether it's a garage door or their front door sometimes, depending on the logistics of how the house is set up and where you're working. We'll run a path up to their master bedroom, so that way if you're coming in and out to your vehicle getting supplies, you're not tracking crap all through their house. In the same vein of being clean, we really like to do a general cleanup at the end of every day. If your job is going to be, obviously if you have a one-day job, you want to clean up at the end of that day, but also if you're going to be there for multiple days, it's really nice to clean up at the end of your day. It also makes your workflow easier because you're not constantly tracking stuff everywhere. You don't have messes you're just spreading around their house. And Josh and I have found that if we have a job that takes multiple weeks, our supply area tends to grow. So periodically we like to do, maybe like a bi-weekly or just once a week cleanup where we consolidate our supplies, throw away a bunch of, detritus that is collected over the couple days we've been there, and then just kind of reset our work area. Another thing that I've noticed with contractors is, and we've been guilty of this as well, is most guys play music on some sort of work radio. There's a lot of options out there now with things that pair to your phone and Bluetooth speakers, and you've got traditional radio. One thing I would say is if you're in a completely empty job site and the homeowner is nowhere to be found, or you're on a commercial site and there's no one around, the rules are a little bit different. I know you can blast music because you're working in some giant warehouse or whatever you're doing, but in general, play non-offensive music. So if it's the radio, almost anything on the radio is going to be fine, but just kind of know your audience and where you are. So, and even if it's not the genre of music that your client would enjoy, just play it at a respectable level, like nothing too crazy high, because that can be super annoying. Again, if you're by yourself and there's no one around, have at it. Generally, Josh and I have our AirPods in and we're listening to, an audiobook or a podcast, and then we also have a radio on playing like a fairly pleasant playlist that's upbeat music that, things we enjoy but is not offensive to anyone. I was on a job site the other day doing a quote behind a contractor, and I came down and they were playing death metal, like super hardcore, just balls to the wall death metal, and the client was a very kind, just middle-aged woman, and it was glaringly obvious that it was the wrong music for that setup. So just keep in mind, when you are in someone's residence, you are a guest in their home. That is something that can cause some friction and is just super annoying, and the client more than likely will not say anything. So another little tidbit is, if you're working on a job site with other contractors, I've noticed this in younger guys, they will play music on their phone and keep it in their pocket and just walk around with music blaring out of their crappy little iPhone speakers. Please don't do that. Like, if you're going to listen to music that's all your own, just wear AirPods, wear earbuds, wear something else, because no one else wants to hear your music, particularly as it fades in and out as you're walking around the job site. You want your interactions with your clients to go smoothly. You also want your interactions with other contractors to go smoothly. The more likable and easy to work with you are, the more jobs you're going to get, the easier things are going to be for everyone. So I'm very much about keeping things smooth and kind of smoothing off and rounding off any of those friction points that may crop up. Another thing to keep in mind, as I said before, you're a guest in your client's home, so you always want to be respectful of their space. We have noticed too that, this is all client dependent. Some clients are going to want to talk, and that's totally fine. You can feel free to engage them on the level you're comfortable with. The main thing, as my brother says, is to not piss anyone off. You really don't want to make anyone angry. It's not a really good idea to start getting in some sort of political debate or a contentious argument with your client. That's not what you're there to do. You're there to solve a problem that they have that's related to your trade, not to try and sway them one way or the other with your political views or any views on anything, really. So be polite, be conscientious, and keep in mind too, if you have a quieter profession, we've had clients that will talk to us all day, so it's important to maintain your workflow and not just spend hours and hours talking to your client. Unless you really have the time, you're enjoying it quite a bit and they're enjoying it too. So just be mindful, be respectful. You're a guest in their home. Just try and keep things smooth. Our workflow process is, if we go into a house and say we're painting the entire second floor of a residence, and we'll say there's 3 bedrooms, a bathroom or 2 bathrooms, and like a hallway. What we generally do is we will complete whole rooms and then move out of those rooms completely. So it's a nice way to keep track of things. I know, depending on your trade and what you're doing, you can't always close out areas completely because certain things are at different stages. But I will just speak to painting. If you can finish a room entirely, get all your stuff out of there, and they can get the furniture back in, one, it's really kind to the homeowner because they are going to get their house back quickly. It's not like you're going to dominate the whole second floor the entire time you're working there. As you finish, more of their rooms open up, and it kind of feels like they're getting their house back in order. And also, if you have a job that's in multiple rooms, sometimes it's nice to talk to your client and ask them, which room is the most important to get back the soonest. And that way you kind of will have a better idea where to start, particularly if it doesn't affect your workflow. If doing one bedroom is the same as another, then you might as well, have another layer of trying to make them happy. That's it for this video, guys. Hopefully you picked up some good tips and tricks, and be kind, be smooth, and we'll see you in the next video.